Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us again for the second segment, talking with Jacki Smith, owner of Coventry Creations. Jacki's also an author and a witch. Welcome back, Jacki. Thanks so much for being with us.
This is so much fun, Kristen.
Thank you. Well, in the last segment, we talked about kind of the all-encompassing subject of being a witch and what that entails. We also talked about using candles in your practice, and you own a store called Coventry Creations in Ferndale, Michigan, in which you produce magical candles for people's practice. Can we just go back to when you started Coventry Creations? You said like 30 years ago?
Yeah, 28 years ago, almost 30.
Wow.
That's a lot. I think about that and I get a little tired. But I've been doing, I don't know how to do anything else, to be honest with you.
That's a small business. I mean, for you to maintain a small business, that really shows your dedication and how great your products are. Because unfortunately, there's a lot of people that aren't so lucky in the small business realm. So congratulations on that.
I haven't been so lucky, to be honest with you. It's been a roller coaster ride. I have almost lost my business a couple of times. I spent a couple of years not taking a paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
I have survived divorce, moving, breaking up of partnerships, reincorporating. And last year, I had to survive embezzlement of over $100,000. It is tenacity and magic and continuing to be empowered. I'm not a huge believer in, that happened so I could be blessed. I'm not down with that at all. When the shit hits the fan, your choice is to learn from it, to gain something from it, to find your own blessing, and then grow and thrive.
Sure.
Tenacity. This is not luck, it's tenacity.
And do you also think, though, that your background in your practice helped you get through such a devastating circumstance?
100%. Absolutely. So I started Coventry when I was 24. I started it because I wanted to make money to go to college. I wanted to go into the psychology world. I never thought about going into the business world. But I did, and I just went to the School of Hard Knocks instead of the local university. But so I learned all of this along the way because I love it.
Yeah. And if you love what you do, then it makes it all worth it. It's unfortunate that happens. I think that you're not alone. When I had my small business, I had a situation with my bookkeeper, very similar situation.
Yeah.
So I can relate to that. But now your sister, Patty Shaw, is a psychic and co-author with you on 2 books. And
on one book, on DIY Akashic Wisdom. Yeah.
Okay. And
she's also my business partner.
Right. And she's your business partner. Can you tell our audience a little bit about that book and how that came to be, and a little bit about Akashic? Because I think that's a subject that not a lot of people are familiar with.
So it kind of started with my first book, Coventry Magic, with candles, oils, and herbs. And people kept asking me, so what book do I need to read to know what you know? And I'm like, well, apparently I got to write one because it'll be mine. And that is all about my magical path, which blends the psychological, the healing work, and the magical at the same time. And there's some great appendices where it talks about what's in herbs and stones and oils, etc. And then there's there's some really cool ways of creating core magical change, using magic to make core change in your life. So that has been a fun journey of doing that and teaching people. And so here I was traveling, promoting the book, teaching folks, and doing readings. And I had some experiences over time with what I was calling the stream of all knowledge. So when I was doing readings for folks, I would tap in, and I would just be in this vast place of knowledge, and it would just all flow at me really fast. And then one day I'm at Zuzu's Healing Arts in Massachusetts, in Saugus, I think she was at the time. So I'm reading in this really small room, and I'm tuning into these people, and her place is filled with crystals. So it was all vibrating at the same time. So I'm tuning into this person, and I just connected, and all of a sudden I felt myself do this, and I'm like, where am I? and and all this information, because I talked about how I'm more clairsentient than clairvoyant, but the thought process, the visualization of everything was happening so fast and so crystal clear. And I just asked, as I'm doing the session with this client, where am I? And I heard very clearly, you're in the Akashic Records. And I said, okay, so we're just going to go. And what was happening is I was doing the sessions so fast, I had to physically slow myself down, because somebody came for an hour reading and an hour healing, and I was getting it done in like 30 minutes. And they're like, oh my God, that's so amazing. So I had to like slow things down, because they got the same value. We just did it fast. So my sister Patty was in Massachusetts with me, and I at another sister's house. And so I went back to her, and I'm like, girl, this happened. And so from there, her and I and a couple other people we know, we started going into the Akashic Records and learning what we needed to learn. And we thought about getting other books and other authorities on it. And we said, no, we want to explore this without any preconceived notions. And it was easy, and it was fast. And the big thing is, I mean, the thing that we did have to look up is the meaning of Akashic, because I need to know what that is. And
where does Akashic come from?
So that comes from a Sanskrit word that means sky, ether. So it's a place in the divinity. And that came to America through Madame Blavatsky, cannot say that name, and the spiritualist movement, because they were fascinated by the Eastern philosophies. So they brought a lot of those into the West and shared all that. So that's how that term came to be. And in our studies, we discovered absolutely every religion and spiritual path has a version of that. Edgar Cayce used it in God's Book of Remembrances. I was talking to some folks, Islamic people, and they talk about how Muhammad says you can open up the Quran to any place in it and read about it, and you're reading about your own history and what you need to know. And actually, different people of the Jewish faith will do that with the Torah. They talk about Abraham's taking your name out of God's book in the Jewish religion. So you talk to different Native American people, and they tune into the energy and the memories of the land. From trees and rock. I mean, everyone has it. So it was really fun, and we did that research after we explored. So basically, what we understand is that the Akashic Records are the history of your soul's existence. Mm-hmm. It is a place that you connect to, like you connect to your dreams. It's yours. You are really the only one who can go and explore there. It's basically your memories, and your memories through many lifetimes, through many generations. It's the record of every intent you've ever set, every wish you've ever made, every mistake you've ever made, every vow you've ever accidentally taken. Right. And so you go in there, and you don't get the whole thing at once, because that would just make your brain blow up. So you go in there and you get what you need. And when you go into your own Akashic Record room, we love Harry Potter, so we call it the Room of Requirement. It becomes what you need, and the information is there that you need, and you can explore it on your own all the time. So in the last segment, I talked about navigating the governmental loans from the SBA to help businesses get through this pandemic. And I was having a lot of issues and kind of freaking out and getting scared of that. So we went into my Akashic Records, and saw how they interacted with the Akashic Records of the SBA and the Akashic Records of other people around us who were all connected to this, and cleared the thought form that was freaking me out. So you go in there, and so basically it's like a big step of magic. I've cleared different issues through family legacy around money. I've cleared different past life issues around around food and starvation.
Is
And
somebody waiting there? Do you have a guide that's kind of helps you navigate the Akashic records, or are you kind of left to your own device when you're there?
So depending on how tuned in you are, there's always Akashic record keepers. A lot of times we don't see them. They're just doing the work. They're the librarians hanging around doing the work. But I call this the playground of the gods. This is where all of you interface with the divine and all of your spirit guides and all of your divine helpers. So they're all there. And even if you interact with, like, I did a lot of healing with some energy of my mother. And so I would see her in my Akashic records, but it was a representation of her. It wasn't actually her. Okay. So it allows you to heal things with different frustrating or challenging or abusive situations. So there's your guides are there. You're there. You choose who you want to interact with. Archangels, different divine helpers.
So for the people that this is a new word, this is a new, just an altogether new thing for people hearing about this. Can everybody access their records?
Absolutely. You do. You access them all the time. So when you're getting good at something and practicing something and remembering some of that stuff, or all of a sudden something is super easy for you, you're in the middle of accessing your Akashic records. A lot of readers are accessing Akashic records and getting information that way. And I watch them all the time and I go, oh, look at you. I see what you're doing. You're going deep. And they might not know, they might not register it as that. We dream. So dream realm really is akin to the Akashic record realm. When you get flashes of intuition and insight that come out of nowhere, you have tuned in. So I do a quick connection to the Akashic records through the heart chakra, and we explain that in the book, the quick and dirty. I like to have them like quick and dirty plans here, cheater ways of getting in there. But one of the easiest ways I found is through your heart chakra is your connection to your Akashic records. So it's a dimension that is not in this third dimension physical world that you can easily access, and you access it all the time. It's not open and closed. I mean, we come out of it and come into this three-dimensional life, but I think that, and we narrow the connection so we can focus on, cutting the carrots for the stew, and driving and the things we need to do. But it's not like I have to struggle to reacquaint myself. I think the biggest challenge people have is believing that they're there and they're experiencing things.
Sure.
And a lot of times you need a guide, but sometimes you can go in on your own and say, all right, what's here? And go ahead and write it down. So your guides and your spiritual court are going to use the creative language of your imagination. Mm-hmm. You don't speak Sanskrit. You actually probably don't speak angelic language, and you might have guides from other countries. And I don't know French, but I've got a guide who's very French. And so your imagination and your ability to understand symbolism and your own symbolism, symbology, is what you're going to interpret when you're there. And then just like you practice this language, you get better and better.
Right. So if somebody wanted to purchase that book, Jacki, how can they do that?
They can get it on CoventryCreations.com. They can get it on Amazon. They can get the digital version on Amazon. It's in a lot of cool bookstores. Do a little search on it, see who's got it on their shelf, and or in their shopping cart, shall we say?
Sure. Well, that's great. I read your book many years ago when it first came out, and I delved into going to my records. And at first, I wasn't sure if I was really there, but it just felt different. And then once I really started getting into it and relaxing and embracing the fact that this is a gift that we all have that can help us through, whatever situation we're going through or whatever the reason to go there would be, I really enjoyed it. And I'll be really honest, I haven't done that in a while, but just by talking to you, I want to get back in there and see what's going on, especially now.
But I think what happens is that as you practice over time, you don't have to formally go there. I think you still go there all the time. You connect to that flow of information that's coming and going. when I need to do like legit work. Okay, so 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, I don't know what time is anymore. 2 weeks ago, I was really sick. I was non-COVID sick. I got something else, and I'm laying there, not caring about anything in the world, coughing and having a sinus infection. I'm like, this is in my Akashic records. I keep getting messages like, this is something more than just being sick. You're reacting to something. There's something going on. There's a big thing. And so I did not have the wherewithal to get into my Akashic records. I just couldn't do it. So I just started talking about the impressions of things that were coming to me. And you know what? Oh my gosh, it just surprised me so hard. I knew my grandfather's first wife died of the Spanish flu.
Wow.
And on my mother's side.
Okay.
I know my grandfather on my father's side, first wife died as well. And we didn't know why. And I said, she died of the Spanish flu too. I know she did. And I know there's survivor's guilt coming through and it's hitting me. And so I started talking about it, and I talked to my sister, and she goes, I'm going to do the math. And she did the math, and I think my father's first wife, we don't have the records, but it's she died right in the middle of the Spanish flu, and of unknown causes, and in an area where a lot of people were dying of the Spanish flu. So, wow. And that kept coming to me while I was sick, and I did not have COVID-19. I didn't have any, except for the cough, which was also the wrong cough. This was not it. But boy, so again, the Akashic records are talking to me. I'm knowing there's something going on. I can't go in and do a formal healing, but what I'm doing is I'm talking about it, and I'm bringing it into this world, and I'm asking for help. And when I discovered that piece, I started getting better.
Wow.
Yeah.
That brings up a really good point where we can take our ancestry and heal what they went through nowadays, either by, accessing those records or just by giving it a name or giving it attention. Is that right?
Absolutely. So when I, last week, when I was finally able to sit down, and I have a partner that I work with, it's my sister. It's a smart one because we wrote the book together. And I said, I think there's something here for us. And so we went in there, and there was a lot of forgiveness that needed to happen. And so we invited our grandfather's first wives, and they said, no, we're still your mothers. So we're still your mother. And it was beautiful. It was really nice to say, oh, I can call them my grandmothers. And there was a lot of forgiveness that our grandfathers needed to give themselves.
Wow. That's amazing.
And then we passed that whole thing on, and the next day I got 90% of my energy back. It was amazing.
Amazing. That really is. That really speaks to the power of what we can do with our own energy, our own spirit, our own wherewithal. And I think that's, and recognizing that, and then kind of parlaying that information to other people. Like, you might not get there tomorrow, but if you practice, or if you learn these new modalities, or if you take the time to, figure out how you can maneuver this, that it's possible. So,
and sometimes it's just talking about it. It's just writing about it. I started getting better when I started talking about it.
Yeah.
Boom. And like almost immediately.
That's great. Well, that's great. I'll have the link to Jacki's website and all of her social media outlets for everyone. So you can find, if you're looking for a candle, if you're looking for chakra sprays, or if you would like to get the Akashic Record book, I highly recommend it. It's very good. But I wanted to thank you, Jacki, for taking the time with us today. It's just been a pleasure. You're a wonderful soul, and I love talking to you. What I'd like for you to do is, we had talked about you giving us a little grounding technique. We always like to leave each segment for our listeners and our viewers with something to take away, either a meditation and affirmation. And so Jacki's going to do a grounding technique for us. So go ahead, Jacki, whenever you're ready.
This is super easy. This is, again, I apparently like the words quick and dirty. This is the quick and dirty grounding technique that you can do anywhere, in your car, in a stressful situation, whatever's going on. Because when we get stressed, our spirit starts to shift out of our body, and then it's hard to think. It's hard to get any traction, and then it's easier for people to push their energy on you. So this is what I do. So if you ever see me in a meeting doing this, this is what I'm doing. So I do a quick statement. Put my spiritual nose in my physical nose. I put my spiritual toes in my physical toes. I put my spine in my spine and my spirit in my body. I clear, and if I can't use my hands, I use my mind. I clear, and sometimes I just go like this. Like, you don't ignore me, So I'm using all that energy. I clear, and I'm here. You don't always do it in that order. Sometimes I clear, and I'm here, and then I do this. So I've done this enough times, so I've created this muscle memory. And everyone I teach knows that when I do this, I'm having a moment and I'm trying to get back in my body and get grounded. So when you put your spiritual nose back in your physical nose and your spiritual toes back in your physical toes, it just kind of has that alignment.
A reminder to get back into yourself.
Get back into yourself. And as soon as your spirit's back in your body, you can quickly re-empower. But it's hard to do that when you're like hanging out to the right or hanging a little too high. So do it real quick. Put my nose in my nose, my toes in my toes in my toes, my spine in my spine, and my spirit in my body. I clear, and I'm here.
Thank you. Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jacki. We really appreciate you, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks so much.
You have a great one, too. It was a pleasure.
Thanks. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.